Hello and welcome to this webinar session from Leica Geosystems. I'm coming to you from the sometimes sunny United Kingdom, not from Tower Bridge, but I thought it was always a nice way to start my presentation. But thank you very much once again for joining these webinar sessions. I really appreciate the registrations and appreciate your time to hopefully learn something new. And I really do enjoy the camaraderie and the team spirit that comes in creating this content ready for you guys to digest. So without further ado, we're going to move on to the presentation. So this webinar was put together by myself and McKenna Murray from the San Ramon software product team, and it's all about harnessing the power of models and point clouds for collaboration and communication within JetStream Viewer 2020.1. So we've got some fantastic new features that we are going to be talking about today, but also obviously there's a lot of new people that have registered for the webinars across the two regions. So we're also going to spend some time looking about what JetStream Viewer actually is, what it does, how it operates, the data it consumes, and how that can bring some real power to the delivery mechanisms that you have with your clients and your customers. So firstly, we're starting off with the agenda. Very brief introduction from ourselves, a speaker introduction. We're going to do a reality capture overview, so the software and sensors and our process flow that gets the data ready for JetStream Viewer downstream. What exactly is JetStream Viewer for those of you who are uninitiated and want to learn more? I'm going to talk about getting your data ready for JetStream Viewer. We're going to look at all the latest updates in the 2020.1 release. We'll talk briefly about the BLK3 integration, which I think is something that's really exciting, not only for adding 3D imagery into our LGS or JetStream data, but also the ability to actually control the scanners running Cyclone Field 360 on the BLK3D as well. Then we're going to have a brief JetStream Viewer demonstration, looking at some of the features that we've talked about previously at step 6. Then we're going to introduce to you, some of you may have seen this before, but Rhythm powered by JetStream. I'll leave it at that for now in terms of what Rhythm is and what it does, but it's the first in a line of products powered by JetStream, so I think you'll be very excited to learn more. And then we'll have a brief summary and close. So what I will say is throughout the duration of this webinar, if you do have any questions, just put them into the box and we'll do our best to answer them as quickly as we possibly can. And thank you very much for your patience in waiting for any responses from us as we navigate through the webinar session. So, speaker introduction. You may or may not know me. My name is Paul Burrows. I am the Scanning Solutions Manager in Europe, based in the UK. I've been with Leica Geosystems for over 13.5 years now. I was saying to my wife the other day, 13 years and 8 months to be precise. And I've held various roles, everything from account manager role, running around the UK selling 3D laser scanners. I've worked in the San Ramon product management team on the software side, and now back in Europe on the scanning solutions side of things. I started using laser scanning in 2003, but that was predominantly with digital heritage recording, so rock art and buildings and castles and anything to do with that. But my prime aim now is to obviously help develop the business, where we find perhaps a new segment or niche to try and drive that revenue in that segment, and also on the solution side and also on HDS software. So increasing the attachment rate of our software with people who invest in our products, and also third-party solutions as well. So I wanted to talk briefly about the reality capture story from Leica Geosystems, and this is kind of the touchstone slide that we'll come back to a couple of times throughout the presentation just to sort of see where we are on that journey. But obviously we have a lot of sensors, and our customers have a lot of sensors. They have our sensors, but they also may have third-party products as well, and we have to help them ideally help them use our solutions to bring all that data together in one cohesive whole. And then we have our very distinct 4 phases that we're going to talk about. So this is the capture, prepare, manage and deliver. So obviously the capture stage is pretty self-explanatory. We're out in the field, we're collecting our data, maybe using a tablet or field software, out in the field in conjunction with the scanner to review that data. Then we move on to the preparation stage, or the prepare stage, and that's where we're taking our data, we're importing it, we're registering it, we are cleaning it, perhaps we're adding in limit boxes, and then we're getting that data ready for further downstream. Then we have the manage aspect, and that's where a lot of JetStream comes in. We'll talk about that later, but effectively we're getting the data in a place that is centralized and is easy to access from multiple locations, and that allows us to then deliver the data to our end users, and that could be our internal colleagues, it could be our internal customers, where we have survey divisions within a big consultancy firm, for example, but it could also be sharing that data with external contractors, so they maybe for drafting or creating BIM content, but also it could be just for the general public, or it could be putting something up on TrueView or on JetStream, and allowing people to access that from multiple locations. So that's capture, prepare, manage, deliver, and we'll come back to that shortly. But just where we are now in terms of the reality capture software portfolio as of August 2020, so we have this capture, process, manage, deliver again. These first three stages are what I consider the generic workflow, the Leica Geosystems workflow. And then we have the delivery stage, and that could be potentially application specific. So we'll look at that now in terms of the icons. So here's all our sensors on the left. It could be UAV, could be handheld mobile mapping, could be the RTC. And then we have our processing aspect. So in here you've got Cyclone Register, Register 360. If you've got mobile mapping solutions, you've got the Pegasus Manager. And also if you're using, maybe you're using a scanning total station, multi-station, so you're using Infinity for processing that data. Then we move into the manage stage, as I said before, so you've now got all these files, all this data. How do we make sure that all these people from the different parts of the business can consume that data? And this is where JetStream and our LGS formats come in. Then we have, as I said, the delivery aspect and the application-specific part of this table. And this whole back end is what we're going to talk about today in terms of once we've created our JetStream data, our LGS data, where do we then consume it? But with a clear focus on JetStream Viewer. But the application-specific stuff, you can see that we've got CloudWorks, Cyclone 3DR. That data, once it's in JetStream or LGS format, can be consumed in all of those different locations. And that is the key to our workflow, is that data can be read into so many different applications and platforms. So what exactly is JetStream Viewer? And why should you, your organization, your customers be using JetStream Viewer? So firstly, I'll say this a few times, but it's free of charge, and it's a free of charge viewing tool for sharing your rich digital reality data. And that could be from mobile mapping, it could be from BLK2Go, it could be from RTC or BLK360. But effectively, the data is published from the Leica Geosystems software ecosystem. It also provides virtual tour-like capability, so you can jump between the scan positions very easily. You can view panoramic images. You can view the point cloud in full 3D if you just rotate away from those scan positions. Now we're adding 3D models. You've got the ability to navigate around the 3D models. All of them can be clipped using the clipping manager tool, limit boxes directly within JetStream Viewer as well. And it also supports the creation of snapshot presentations. And as I said, we can bring the 3D models in. So we can tell a story within our file and just say to the user, press the presentation, it will auto advance, or you can jump between the snapshots, and you can tell that story in full 3D for multiple users in remote or local situations. And it really is a powerful tool. Whether you're in a court, like with the pirates fighting each other, or whether you're in a plant, and you're trying to establish whether something will fit in a certain location, then that is where JetStream Viewer comes in very, very handy. And it's available in 3 unique configurations as well, so it can meet any need. Firstly, we can use it in a connected mode. As I said, it's free of charge. It's always free of charge. It can be locally installed, and it is currently it's a Windows application, and you can access data on a JetStream enterprise server. So that could be an internal server with a specific IP address. We've got some customers who are hosting this in the cloud as well, where they've got multiple offices and they're putting it on a cloud server and accessing it. But that would be the connected deployment. Then we have disconnected. So again, locally installed. but this time for accessing those LGS files. And the LGS files can't be hosted. They are local files, and that is, you would send someone the viewer as an install, you'd send someone the LGS, and they can view that data. They can still perform pretty much all the same functions, but we'll talk specifically about the advantages of LGS in the short term later on in the presentation. And then we have this JetStream Viewer portable, and I think this is really important. So this is again completely free of charge, no install, and it runs directly from the USB stick. So if you have JetStream Viewer portable and your LGS file on a USB stick, you can just double click, get that running, and it will open up JetStream Viewer, and you can then basically anyone can view that data, and it doesn't take a huge amount of computing power or processing grunt to get JetStream Viewer running. Obviously, now we've got the support for the 3D models with the meshes. If you have a faster machine, that's obviously better because some of these files are getting quite big. I've seen an LGS file of several hundred gigabytes in size being thrown around, running directly off a USB stick, and it's a sight to behold. But they're the three deployments that you need to be aware of. And by all means, if you have any feedback on those, we'd love to hear. So what are the key features of JetStream Viewer? And this is what we're going to go through today. So firstly, as I said before, you can open those LGS files and the JetStream Enterprise data. We've also got the ability to create limit boxes directly within JetStream Viewer, or we can also read in any predefined limit boxes that we've created at our preparation stage. We've got measuring tools, so we've added a new simple mode in 2020.1. We've also got various viewing tools, so whether you want to view the images, the point cloud, the models, the RGB, the intensity, perhaps you're using the BLK360 and you want to measure temperature, for example, and you have a temperature layer from the IR sensor on there, that would also be embedded. We'll look at snapshots, presentations, also animations, so you can, not only can you create your snapshots with predefined views, but you can actually use the video function to create a fly-through animation. It will just create a video file off the back end. Assets and geotags, that's really taking full advantage of where you've taken photos, maybe you've taken videos, or maybe you've taken 3D images with the BLK 3D, and you're able, that all of that data follows through down into JetStream Viewer, and you're able to open that data and integrate it fully. Then we've got the integration with the BLK 3D, so using the BLK 3D as a controller to supercharge your geotag creation, so that's really, really nice. Then we've got the ability to save our snapshots, and so for example, if you create snapshots in the LGS, or if you're opening up JetStream Enterprise data, you can resave that content back to the LGS file or the JetStream Enterprise server so that other users will be able to see it. So you can comment on data, and that's where the collaborative aspect comes in. Then this is probably the biggest one. I ran a poll on LinkedIn, and the most exciting thing that everyone said they were waiting for was the 3D model integration into the LGS files. So we're going to talk about the importing OBJ and IFC data directly to the viewer, and it's completely free. I'm sure I've mentioned that a couple of times already in the presentation. So why do we need JetStream Enterprise and JetStream Viewer? So if we've got lots of different parts of the business all working on the data, so here you can see we've got everyone from subcontractors through to the owner and the project managers. There's going to be a lot of 3D models and data floating around, and scan data potentially floating around, and that means lots of duplicates of data being sent. And potentially, we've seen this even with some very large companies. You've got hard drives flying around, labeled up, and people are copying all the different versions. How do you keep track of all of that data moving around the organization? And soon it becomes very, very messy. You've got versioning issues. So what we try to do with JetStream is allow our customers to create a central source of truth. So with JetStream Enterprise in particular, you set up your central database and all of your data is stored there. So all of these users around the outside can publish to the JetStream Enterprise server. So this is if in particular we're using the JetStream Enterprise method of delivery. And also JetStream Enterprise, at the minute it doesn't support models, but it will do in the next release. So we're leading with 3D model integration into our LGS files. But you can see here what this means now is all of those users around the outside are accessing the JetStream Enterprise server, where you're hosting your point cloud data, your image data, your snapshots and markups, and ultimately, in the very near future, models for JetStream Enterprise. And it just makes it much cleaner. So how do I get my data ready for JetStream Viewer? And this is where we go back to our cycle. So we're looking at the preparation and manage stage. So we've obviously, we want to clean the data, we want to make sure the assets are correct, and then we want to get the data either pushed to JetStream Enterprise server, or we want to create an LGS file. And that is where Cyclone Publisher and Publisher Pro comes into play. So we want to provide for our users the completely seamless consumption of reality capture data from our solutions. So what we've provided now is one publisher in two sizes, and we've also created the ability, probably 2 years ago now, we created this LGS format, so this complete project in a single simple file. It's a paulburrows.lgs file, it's a housebuilding.lgs file, it's everything in one single file, which is accessible and usable across these various locations. So with Cyclone Publisher and Cyclone Publisher Pro, you can see here, this is what you can export from Cyclone Publisher, along with all your standard formats like PTS and E57 and those things which they're just built into Cyclone Register 360, for example. And here is Publisher Pro. So everything that is different I've highlighted in blue here. .las, the only thing I need to highlight is the .las export, which is from Cyclone Core only, not Reg 360. But what you can see here, I'm just going to highlight these. Both solutions allow you to push out LGS data and also that JetStream data. But the real difference with LGS files from Cyclone Publisher Pro is that it supports the IFC and OBJ integration. So that's something really important. So as we go forward now, I'm going to be talking about LGS data, and I'm going to be talking specifically about LGS data created with Cyclone Publisher Pro. So you can see here, these are the license requirements for 3D model support. So basically anywhere you can see a check mark, we are able to create LGS files which support 3D models. Now what you can see as well is that you can see some lines where it says JetStream Publisher or TrueView Publisher with an active CCP. And that's because we've added a migration article so that anyone on a JetStream Publisher or TrueView Publisher, if you have active CCP, you will be able to move to Publisher Pro free of charge, but you have to be under CCP. So at the bottom, note, models, IFC and OBJ will only be supported in the new 2020.1 LGS files created with a Publisher Pro license. So in summary, if you want to take advantage of 3D model support, you're going to have to republish your LGS files using Publisher Pro to take advantage of that. So I just want to make that really clear. So if you come across a file you're not able to import the model, you will get a warning anyway, but it will be because it hasn't come from Publisher Pro and not with the right license. So talking about LGS files, where can they be consumed? So I've actually increased this slightly since my last version of this slide. And you can see JetStream Viewer flashing away there, but you can see this LGS file, this seamless small compact file, which can be then shared to all these different locations. We can publish it up to TrueView or Cloud or Enterprise. We can re-import an LGS file back into Cyclone. These powered by JetStream products that I talk about, they will consume LGS. You can load an LGS file to JetStream Enterprise. You can always, and the key focus of today, the LGS file opens up in JetStream Viewer. Cyclone 3DR, our all-in-one deliverable solution, that will also read the LGS file, and then all of our CloudWorks variants will read the LGS file. So it just makes it so much easier to share your data with all these different people using these different solutions. And that's what we've aimed to do, is just to make it as simple as possible. And so the LGS file becomes really important for that strategy. So looking into our JetStream Viewer 2020.1 updates, this is where we're at the deliver stage. So this is where we're handing over that data to our end users. Okay, so firstly, and the biggest one is models in JetStream Viewer. And this is our same drag, drop, done mentality. You take the file, You literally get it in your Windows Explorer, your IFC or your OBJ, and you just pull it into JetStream Viewer and you can view it. So you can view your design against the reality. You can measure any kind of clearances that you want to. You can inspect, you can tag, and you can share directly within that dataset. And as I said before, we're supporting IFC and OBJ. So what does that allow? So we've already alluded to the fact maybe it's for crime scene presentations. So you're adding in markups and you're adding in your forensic cones. You're adding in representations of people within that scene. Perhaps you just want to do a visual QA against as-built conditions. So here, for example, you can see where we've got an OBJ that's been colorized with the heat map. And we're bringing that directly across into JetStream Viewer, along with the IFC and also the point cloud. So you can actually see it becomes very, very rich in terms of what we're able to view, but not also what we're able to share in terms of the content to the third-party contractors. Then perhaps you want to test the fitting of equipment or do some rough some planning. And maybe you've got a new build project where you want to import the model and see that it fits using, you can do that with a combination of simple visual clash analysis or actually taking some measurements to double check. Then also moving on to what we were talking about before in terms of the JetStream Viewer project information, which will tell you if your LGS file supports models. So you can see here, if you click the little information bar at the very top of JetStream Viewer, it will give you all the project information. So it will tell you how many setups, it will tell you all the metadata, the number of points. But fundamentally now we've added this new line which says supports models, yes or no. So you can see it immediately as soon as you get an LGS file whether you're able to actually append it with the 3D model data. So that's really important to know. Supported formats, I've touched on this, but obviously we deal with IFC, which is short for Industry Foundation Classes, and we support all the various schemas which you can see listed there below. And that became very apparent to us when we started this journey of adding 3D model support, that IFC was a key driver, particularly in the digital reality space, and also building construction and building solutions, which is where a huge number of people are working right now with this data. And then OBJ. So what I think really is nice about the OBJ is you can bring it in textured or untextured. And also when we've got products like Cyclone 3DR, which are part of the product portfolio, we can export an OBJ. And what we've added actually in Cyclone 3DR is the ability to use the panoramic spheres within the LGS file to retexture the meshes to give you a really nice finish on the meshes when you bring those through into JetStream Viewer. So that's something, if you have Cyclone 3DR, if you have another means to create textured OBJ files, they can come in directly. And I've been having some really good fun with bringing the OBJ files into JetStream Viewer. So within the product itself, we've added this new assistant panel, and I think that's key in terms of adoption for people who haven't used this before. Really, what it does is it replicates what we've got in Cyclone Register 360. So at any point in time, if you've got an issue in Register 360, you go to the assistant panel, it will give you a breakdown. So this just now kind of guides the user through some of the new tools, and just makes it a little bit easier to actually understand what's happening for a non-professional user. So someone should be able to pick up JetStream Viewer Portable and an LGS that you send them and start working with that data very, very quickly. So that's I think we'll start adding more to that assistant panel as time goes on as well to make it even easier. We've improved the measuring tool as well. So previously when you did the measurements, you ended up with a big long list. You had your delta values, your distance values all in a big block, but we've had a simple mode which you can change within the settings. And we've also added the ability to continue measuring after you've panned and zoomed and rotated, so you can pick on two different points at the very ends of the projects, which was something which was a little bit more difficult to do in the past. We've also added some directional orthographic tools, so similar, in fact, almost identical to what you would see in Cyclone Register 360, for example, or even in Cyclone 3DR, using exactly the same icons. We can now very quickly jump to top, down, left, right, front, back from within the menu bar. So that just matches the experience that you'll see in other parts of the product portfolio. And now this is really important to me. because I like the idea of an ecosystem of products that works really nicely together and gives you a frictionless experience, if you will. So we have Cyclone Field 360, and that runs on tablets or phones, but it also runs on the BLK 3D now as well. So subject to you having the latest firmware updates on the BLK 3D and also on the RTC 360, for example, and also the BLK 360, you can now control those scanners with the BLK 3D. But when you go to add an asset or a geotag directly into the dataset using Cyclone Field 360, you used to be able to choose image, video, text, for example, or a note, but you can now choose 3D image. And 3D image will then just open up the interface for BLK 3D, allow you to take your image, and it will embed it into your file, and that follows all the way through down into JetStream Viewer. So when you're in JetStream Viewer and you double click on your geotag and it's a 3D image, it will either open up a BLK 3D web link, or it will open up BLK 3D desktop, and you can start measuring that data. So you can see here, this is where we're preparing the data in Register 360, so we've just got a couple of scan positions, and the highlighted geotag in red on the point cloud behind is a 3D image. And when we've clicked on that, it opens up the BLK 3D desktop application, which is about €99 a year on a subscription. If you want it, then that will open up that and you can start taking measurements. So what that means is if you've got a concealed area, for example. So the other option is here, you can see this is in JetStream Viewer, and I've highlighted that 3D image. And what I've done here is I've updated the link within the LGS file to allow you to jump out to what we call BLK 3D web. So this is a web hosted image. So this will typically, I think this goes up for about 90 days once it's been published, and you can double click on that and you can then take measurements directly from that image within BLK 3D web, which I just think is amazing. So now I've got a short video that I'm going to show you from a guy called Stephen Gross in the US, and this just shows how he has been using the integration of Cyclone Field 360 on the BLK 3D with those geotags.
With the latest version of Cyclone Field 360 installed on the BLK 3D, I'm able to scan and register with both the BLK 360 and the RTC 360 in the field with this device. With the BLK 360, all the data is transferred from here to my BLK 3D in Field 360. If I were scanning with the RTC, the information would go the other way. With tripod-mounted laser scanners, it's all line of sight. So our point cloud will show the plaster, the studs, and even this pipe here, but what it will not identify is the L shape behind the plaster. So with the BLK 3D, we can add a measurable image as a geotag in the point cloud that can be referenced later in our LGS file. So we're just going to come around here to this opening. I'm going to go ahead and hit reality capture on the device. And we'll go ahead and just take a picture.
Okay, so you can see very, very clearly that's a nice simple workflow for getting your 3D images and then appending them to your JetStream file. So for our first demonstration, JetStream Viewer, we're going to be looking at a public safety demo dataset. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is fire up JetStream Viewer. So this is the install version. We're not running JetStream Portable. And you can see the viewer now opens up, and this is now ready to start working with data. So as I said, there's a few different deployments. You've got connected, disconnected, and also the portable version. So if you wanted to connect to a JetStream Enterprise server, you could click this button here. And you can see here now this is connecting to my personal JetStream Enterprise server, which is hosted on this machine. So you can see local host. But I've actually also got our EMEA server here, which you can connect to. And you can see all the projects, and you can see here that was the last one uploaded, which is actually password protected. But today, for the sake of obviously demonstrating 3D models, we're going to show you how to open an LGS file. So we're going to go to this one here, open up this LGS file here, and this is our public safety example, which we were showing during the earlier presentation. So you can see here, this is our sitemap. I think it's quite an old data set in terms of the scan data, but it serves a really nice purpose in terms of showing this workflow with the 3D models. So I can click on any one of these scan locations, that jumps me into the data, or I can minimize the little sitemap and I can go straight into the 3D, so I can start rotating this around. Now immediately what you can see, if I zoom in, you have the markers and I can jump to any one of these scan positions. But what you can see is I've already got some 3D models in there, and I can jump between these various positions. Of course I can go to any other position, so I can actually go inside. For example, I could go inside the window of the car here, and then I could choose the view tool and I could look around as though I was in a witness viewpoint from that particular example. But what we're going to do here, you can see we've got the models, and there's a mixture of models in this data set. There's some textured and there's some untextured, and inside there's some more. In fact, all I've done is just dragged and dropped these directly into the interface in order to view them. What you can see here, this one actually is a mesh that was generated in point views, and that could be the same with Cyclone 3DR. What I'm going to do before we start working, you can see I've taken the roof off there, but just show you the limit box functionality. And I'm just going to drag that down to take the roof off the small area over there. So we'll just accept that, and that will save that for the duration of the session. So you can see here, there's that small little mesh that we've brought in alongside and align that data, and then this is the extents of the actual site. And now, like I said before, I can zoom in to any given scan position point. You can see this has obviously been set up on the floor. Now the first problem you'll see is that one of our objects is not actually positioned correctly. So we can move him now. I've actually managed to chop off his head when I've done my limit box, but what I'm going to do is just click on it, and what that does is then invokes the interaction toolbar. And as I said before, if I open up the side panel now, we've also got the assistant, which will show you. So if I now click on the align to point option, it now updates in the assistant panel and tells you what to do with that particular tool. So what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to actually move him down so that he's actually touching the ground. There you go. So he's more in line with the ground. And from here, I can turn around and I can see the other pirate that's obviously at the rough end of this this knife fight, or this hook fight between these two nasty men in this bar. And I can double click on any of these objects, and then it will still keep this open. Now if you've made any changes, you can just undo those changes. So you can see now, and I can redo those changes. And at any point in time as well, I can actually delete objects from here. So if I didn't, for example, if I didn't want that second cone, I could double click on it, hit the delete key. Are you sure you want to remove the selected model, and just press OK. Now what I am going to do from this example is I'm going to jump to the snapshots, and we'll look at this in detail later, but you can see we've got some snapshots. So I can jump to the vehicle, which is a Humvee model, a basic Humvee model with a texture outside. Look at the entry point for the crime. We can look at the victim and the scenario. Then what you can notice from this is the occlusion. So actually the models sit perfectly within the point cloud, and then we've got the exit. And what you can do if you wanted to, you could actually have a presentation, and you could play that, and these would you could actually have these auto advancing after a given time. But that is some very, very basic navigation in and around that scene. And obviously we can jump between any of our scan positions by clicking on the new little scan position icon. And if we want to, we can actually change the radius of those up to 1 meter. So if we hit apply, you can see they're now much, much more noticeable. That's something that we've added into the newer versions as well. So that is our very, very small forensic example. And yeah, you can see how easy it is to very, very quickly build up a view. For our second JetStream Viewer demonstration, we're going to be looking at the street scene. This was collected with the RTC 360 using the BLK 3D as a controller running Cyclone Field 360. So we're going to look at how we integrate 3D image geotags from the BLK 3D. Okay, so this next example is really short and sweet. This is a village survey that was done with the RTC 360. The main difference being that this was actually, it was collected using Cyclone Field 360 on the BLK 3D. So we've actually added some interesting geotags into this data set. So this is the sitemap view, We can jump to any of those locations directly from here. The base map comes from the free mapping service within Cyclone Register 360. You can obviously jump in directly to the 3D data, but I'm going to jump from this particular position. So I go down to the floor level view, and now we're looking at our 5K panoramas that have been collected with the RTC 360. And as I turn around, you can see that we've got a couple of meshes that I've already added in here. This is a mesh from Cyclone 3DR. It's a fountain that was from Budapest that we've just dropped in there as a new mini roundabout. And then you can see here on the right hand side, I've added a mesh of this gate, of the Gate Hangswell pub as well. So you've actually got a duplicate of that. So if I was to double click on the mesh, that will invoke the editing tool, and like I said before, you've got the assistant panel on the right hand side if someone doesn't know what they're doing. But if we want to now, we can obviously move that freely up and down. And what some people I've seen doing is actually loading up their LGS file with all the 3D content, and then obviously you can move it anywhere you want within the point cloud. So someone can manipulate those and put them in the right position once they're logged in. So that's the data set anyway. So I'm just going to move into the full 3D view, so you can see what's really nice is the fact that I can zoom in nice and close to any of these OBJ files that we've added in, and the rendering speed is still nice and slick. But what you will notice in this particular view is if I jump into, say, this view over here, is we've got quite a lot of geotags. So you can see over here we've got quite a number of geotags. So if I hover over the image 2 one, you can see we get a preview of that particular data, of that particular geotag. But this one here, I think I took one, there you go, so we've got 3D image 12. And what I can do is you can see it's got a link referenced directly to it, so I can open that up. If I open up that geotag that's associated to the BLK 3D web service, it will open up that 3D image that was taken with the BLK 3D whilst the scanner was scanning. And now you can see the 3D image is loading, and once that's available, I can then use the snapping tool to start taking some measurements. So I can click on the corner here, and I can get my measurements, and I can just start clicking and getting as many measurements out of this data set as I want. I could even go over here and get some measurements off the manholes, or potentially, I could work out, what's the height from the floor up to the button, for example, for someone to press. And all of this will be calculated on the fly, and you'll get the feedback. So any of these measurements that we've made will be stored directly within the BLK 3D web service. So if you come back again to the same file, you'll see those measurements that we've created. Another thing you can do is you can export a JPEG. So once you've done that, you just say export, and that will push out the JPEG, and you can save that and share that to your heart's content. So just jumping back into the 3D view, if I just pull out open this left tab, what you will see is under the Geotags tab, you've got all the various 3D images that are listed, and you can jump to the web link for those. But under the assets, we've got a load of assets which haven't actually been linked to a particular point in 3D space. So for example, if I click on that 3D image 15, there's no associated information, but I can double click that, and that will then open up BLK 3D desktop. So if I open up BLK 3D desktop, you can see that is the 3D image that was taken and has been appended into the LGS file. So all of that information from the BLK 3D has made its way through, and then I can start using the measuring tools within BLK 3D desktop. I can go to the 3D model tab, and I can start building up 3D models directly from this data. But that is a really nice link, and I've got a feeling the price for BLK 3D desktop just to be able to carry out this kind of manipulation is about €99 a year. But this is why also BLK 3D web is quite nice. So I'm just going to close BLK 3D desktop and jump back to the scene. The other thing as well in the asset toolbar is you can see we've got videos. So these are videos collected directly with the BLK 3D, or we're using Cyclone Field 360, and you can see now I am looking at the video that was collected directly from the BLK 3D. And I think that's a really, really lovely feature to give some context to the job that you're currently working in. What else can we look at here? Snapshots. So there should be some snapshots that we've created as well. So I can click on my snapshot, and you can see that there's all the text, the information. So proposed site of new mini roundabout, And if I want to, I've got a presentation, I can create a new one, or I can delete it. But these should all be set to auto advance after 3 seconds. So if I now just press play, that will go through each of those presentation snapshots, and it will give us all the text information from each of those views. So you can see we've got measurement content, we've again got the proposed site of the roundabout, and you're keeping the 3D data, the mesh data, in that view. There you go, so you can see the 3D mesh at any point in time is being kept directly within that snapshot view. And that will just keep repeating over and over again until you stop it. And we can create snapshots really, really easily, and we can update them. So if we go to a particular snapshot, like this one for example, if we want to add any measurement information, then we can. There you go, so we just added the measurement information. Maybe we want to add an actual measure in there, so we can measure the distance between 2 points of these white lines, and that'll be stored as well. We can add any text or any markers. So again, we've got this roundabout area, so we can just draw that around the roundabout, and all of that will be stored. And all we do then is just hit update, and that will now be stored into the file. What that means is if we have made any changes, when we go to close this now, it will actually come up and say that there has been changes to the file. So we say close, it says there's unsaved changes. Are you sure you want to close? No. What I can do now is I can resave a new LGS, and you can see it's automatically appended with copy, and all of that information will now be updated. So if you've added any additional 3D models, if you've added any snapshots, you can resave the LGS, and then you can reshare that back to whomever, a customer, client, a colleague. So that is a very nice little data set that hopefully shows you guys some of the capabilities of the 3D model import as well. So I'm going to close that. For our third JetStream Viewer demonstration, we're going to be looking at a building construction example, bringing in multiple IFCs and also being able to section the IFC file using the clipping manager tools within JetStream Viewer. So now I'm going to open this hexagon house dataset. This is about an 8 GB file, and this is with the P series. So I'm just going to jump to one of those scan positions. You can see this is collected with the P series with HDR imagery. And obviously I can view that data set in full 3D as well. Now I think you've seen this before. Oh, I'll show you the limit box in a second, but I'm just going to drag and drop this IFC file directly into the viewer. So that's now going to load the IFC file into the job, and then once it's in, we probably will get a little warning asking about whether it's in the coordinate system. So the model is not aligned to the current project coordinates, so I'm just going to say use the model coordinates. And what you'll find in this particular instance is that the model is somewhere below the data set because there's an offset in the Z value. So I'm just going to undo that move. I'm going to drag that up. Now what you'll see if I zoom in is actually that's not too far off being aligned almost perfectly. Now this is purely for visualization purposes, so I'm not going to be too accurate with it. But there you go, that's your model, and we've aligned the model to the point cloud. And I'm just going to escape out of the move tools or the editing tools for the 3D model. Now what we can do is we can add in multiple files. So now I'm just going to add in this hexagon house extension. So that's probably a much smaller file. I'm just going to say use model coordinates, and let's have a look and see where that file is. So that's down there. I'm just going to drag that up into place. Now you can see, so this from a previs point of view, this is quite nice because we can drag in a theoretical model and we can put it in right location. That's where we assume the current extension is, and maybe we want to move that. Maybe if I'm going to hold the shift key and I could move this along the side of the building, for example. As I said before, if you go into plan view, this allows you to manipulate it quite nicely. If I'm in the move mode, I can say right, I'm going to align, and that's going to be my extension now. There you go, and go back into the side view. And I'm going to say that's the extension. What's the impact on the parking? Can we create any additional space on site? Is there any rights of lights issues, for example? But I just like the ability to be able to pull in multiple different models into the same location. Now, what you should be aware of, and I think I showed this in one of the other examples, if you manually create your clip box, it will also reflect not only the cut on the point cloud, but as you can see, I'm moving down now, but it will also allow you to cut into the 3D model. So if I accept that clip, you can see now we can see inside the IFC model. And you can see, for example, even the detail on the stairwells, for example, in this particular case. So that's a really, really nice way to visualize your IFC files directly alongside your point cloud. Maybe this is for planning purposes. Again, if you wanted to, I don't think there's any snapshots in this example. There aren't any snapshots, but you could add those and save that. And there's no geotags because this was done with the P series, which doesn't support the asset creation out in the field. But yeah, that's dragging in multiple IFC files into the same job, and obviously show you how we can manipulate the limit box to be able to hide certain things as well. So I think that's a really, really nice tool, and I'm sure lots and lots of people will make use of that functionality. For our fourth JetStream Viewer demo, this is going to be a PPM demo. So this is a plant example with multiple snapshots and looking at the ability to turn off the 3D model and also manipulate the 3D model using JetStream Viewer. Okay, so for this next example, we're going to look at a plant data set which has got some pre-defined snapshots and a 3D model already built into it. So this is an LGS file. We've already loaded this plant IFC file and we've resaved the LGS so it contains it. So now when I open up the LGS file, double click on that, and it opens up JetStream Viewer, and we're then able to launch directly into the data set. But this time, rather than use the sitemap or launch into it from the data set, I'm going to go in the sidebar and I'm going to use the snapshots menu and click directly on one of the snapshots. I can even press play. So if I now press play on my presentation, that will zoom straight into that location, and it should now auto advance every 3 seconds, as defined by the user, to my other views from those snapshots. So that's a really, really nice way to jump straight into the navigation and get your user looking at exactly the problem that you're trying to highlight with that. One really nice thing I want to highlight here as well is obviously we've got the ability to turn the point cloud on or off, the images on or off, and now we can turn the models on or off as well. So what that means is now if I move away from the 3D view, sorry, from the snapshot view, you can see I've got the point cloud and the model. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the point cloud off, and obviously I can't see inside the model now. So let's use the clipbox tool. I'm just going to rotate this around, drop that top bit down, and we'll take in all the sides as well. So we'll just use the shift key to move these opposite angles. Okay, there you go, all done, and we'll accept our clipbox. So we can now use this just as a 3D viewer if we wanted to, with our model information. The other thing that we can always do at any point in time is obviously double click and we can manipulate. So if I turn the point cloud back on, and I can just move the 3D model up or down. So let's just make sure we're clicking on the 3D model. There you go, so we can move the 3D model up or down within that data set. What I said before as well, when we come to manipulate this model, if we hold down the Alt key, that really slows down the positioning so we can actually fine tune that. And same if I use the Shift key, that will move in a given direction. So I'm going to move this way now. So I hold down the Shift key and I'm going to pull in that direction, sorry, for the move tool, and pull in that direction. And you can see it's now fixed in that axis. Likewise, if I pull towards us, it's fixed in that axis when holding the Shift key. So I think that that will be really useful for people. We've also got the undo stack, so we can go back to exactly how we were at the very, very beginning of that job. And I can realign that and do whatever I need to. And as before, if we wanted to remove that 3D model from the data set, all we would need to do is just hit delete. Are you sure you want to remove the selected model? And you press OK, and we've removed the 3D model. And then we can just add it back in really, really easily. So that is jumping and navigating directly using snapshots, and obviously we can and tweaking the model and adjusting the model accordingly. So I think you'll really enjoy using that and hopefully navigating around the data set using those snapshots as demonstrated. Okay. Okay, so you can see we had some really, really good use cases there for JetStream Viewer. But before we kind of move on to the next section, I just wanted to give you some customer feedback. So I've got a company called Output Precision and also BuildJest. BuildJest is from Portugal. I saw a video from them on LinkedIn, and I just thought, you know, these guys are obviously using the solution really, really nicely. So they said JetStream Viewer offers a combined view of all assets, 3D models and point clouds, where end customers and stakeholders can enjoy a quicker and simpler visualization of the entire project. We really enjoy using JetStream Viewer. So, you know, I just saw their video and I thought, well, they're obviously very, very passionate about this solution. And so they've very, very kindly let me have a small segment of video clip. So I'm just going to show you how they're using the 3D model integration directly within JetStream Viewer. So thank you to the guys at BuildJest for that. We also have a quote from Output Precision, based in the UK. So you can see here, it's really easy to walk smoothly through the point cloud without the need to jump between setups. Our customer really like this feature. The small sitemap is a great tool as well, so that's a little navigation map in the right hand corner. The ability to record a walkthrough is a fantastic tool for quick case studies and marketing also. So that, a lot of people like that functionality, just because you can very quickly do a screen recording and push it directly to a movie. We really like JetStream Viewer and cannot wait to save our IFC models into our LGS projects to begin sharing with our customers. So you can already, thinking about how they're going to use these new features. So that was from Thomas Gerlich from Output Precision. You can contact Thomas if you have any further questions. So thank you both to Output Precision and also BuildJest for their very, very small case studies. So before we move on, and before we wrap up, I just wanted to introduce to you products which are powered by JetStream. So this will be a new range of products using the JetStream technology to their advantage to produce, filling gaps, I suppose, in some of our in our portfolio, or create new products in certain niches where we feel that reality capture technology has a real possibility of gaining traction. So the first one is Rhythm, powered by JetStream. So Rhythm is a tablet-based interface that allows you to very, very quickly take data from the RTC 360, drop it using the USB stick into JetStream Viewer and perform your on-site analysis. So in real terms, that's real-time floor flatness and real-time floor levelness, and it's primarily aimed at the concrete market. So you can analyze wet concrete, dry concrete. You've got the full ASTM reporting stack behind. You've got the QA directly on the device for creating the reports, and it's a very, very simplified tablet workflow. So it's all based on touch. Really, really easy to use, and all again directly integrated into the JetStream Viewer. So now we're going to watch a video which shows that process. So we click the plugin icon and we open up the Rhythm application from the loaded plugins, and then we go basically left to right across this small toolbar that's popped up, so we can remove debris. Then we can run a heat map on there. Then we can create a contour map. Then we can do our floor flatness analysis, and then ultimately the end result is that you're going to produce reports which you can share with your end users or share with people that need that information. And in the instance with wet concrete, you've got a very, very small timescale before it's set. So if we can do this analysis very, very quickly in the field, get the reports to the people that matter, and they can obviously add or remove an element of concrete just to make sure they've got it absolutely level, because this thing costs it costs a lot of money when it goes wrong. So by giving people these tools in the field to do the analysis, this should all take minutes, and everything you're seeing here is slightly sped up, but I think the full video when it's running is maybe 2.5 minutes. That's about 2.5 minutes to do the full analysis using the solution, and there's the report on the back end. So that is Rhythm, powered by JetStream, and as I said, this is going to be the first of several products that are also powered by JetStream technology to help you take advantage of the reality capture data from Leica Geosystems, but also to build out that portfolio of products and fill in certain niches. So from a point of view of today's session, it's a brief session review. So we've done a reality capture overview at the very beginning. We talked about what JetStream Viewer was. Talked about getting your data ready for JetStream Viewer, so Cyclone Publisher and Cyclone Publisher Pro, and the differences between the two and what that actually means to you in real terms. Then we looked at all the new updates. So obviously the key update being, you know, model integration, but some of the other interface updates. Then we looked at the BLK 3D integrations, that fantastic video from Stephen Gross in the US. And also obviously all about running Cyclone Field 360 on the BLK 3D to allow you to add those 3D geotags directly to the data sets. And we had our JetStream Viewer demonstration looking at all the various use cases. And then finally, we just touched on Rhythm powered by JetStream, which I'm sure some of you can see a real good use case for. And did we mention that it was free? So, you know, obviously it's not free to invest in a scanner, it's not free to invest in Reg 360, and it's not free to invest in Publisher Pro, but certainly to democratize your data to as many people as possible within that chain. And also, you know, maybe you have a customer who's using Revit, and they want to generate 3D models within Revit, and they could use our CloudWorks plugin to read the LGS file, and you can send that over. Maybe you've got someone who's doing some drafting, and they've got CloudWorks and they're looking at the LGS file, but perhaps that, you know, on their second screen they've got the JetStream Viewer up and running, and they're using that to look at some of the geotags or take additional measurements. There's just so many ways the JetStream Viewer can be used and used across the organization. I think we're just at the very beginning of that journey. But fundamentally, you know, JetStream Viewer portable, you know, you can run off any machine. I've done it in a live demonstration. You just whip out the USB stick and you've got the data up and running instantaneously for those companies with IT hurdles. So hopefully you've got a lot from today's session. Really interested to hear your feedback and look forward to answering all your questions. If you want to get in touch with me, feel free. You can find me on LinkedIn primarily. Or email me at paul.burrows@leica-geosystems.com. So on that note, I'd like to thank you for viewing today's webinar. We really look forward to welcoming you to the next session. We've got some probably 2 or 3 in the pipeline that I'm working on McKenna with, and if you've opted in as part of the registration process for this session, you will receive information about those next sessions and those upcoming sessions. So thank you. Please stay safe. Look after each other. Continue scanning and working hard, and we look forward to seeing you on our next scanning software webinar session. Thank you very much.